How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Killmark Collectors. Today, we're talking balance, and for once, when I say we, I actually mean there's somebody besides me going to be talking today. I've partnered with Randy over at RTS Mobile Gaming, also a member of the Silent Federation, and a great content creator in his own right. If you're not subscribed to him already, you should definitely go check out his channel as well. We're going to talk today about some of the balance changes that we are really hoping to see in the April and May update, and eventually hopefully put into the actual game. Now, we're going to break this into two separate parts because it is almost a 40-minute discussion. So we're going to do the first part here on my channel and then the second part over on Randy's. So make sure, I'll put cards up in here and in the end screen. So make sure that if you're enjoying the conversation that you head over there as well after the fact. All right, so with that, let's get into it.
And we are live. How you doing, Scipio?
I'm doing great, RTS Mobile Gaming. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's been a busy week, but it's good to now be online with you, my good buddy here over the Silent Federation. Looking forward to some of our discourse coming up today.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm excited about this. It's been fun the last couple of weeks getting the fleet up and kind of brainstorm some of this informally. So I'm excited to actually get to talk about it and put some math and thoughts on paper here.
Oh yeah, should be pretty cool. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. So to start off the conversation, I think really, the thing that is prompting a lot of this, right, is the fact that in the next month or two, the devs have said that they're going to be putting out some patches. I think there's talk about a public test server at the end of April. And so we're just kind of talking through, what we want to see or what we hope we see to improve the game and, ultimately bring balance to the Force or Eve Echoes or whatever it is, right?
Right. And I think that's definitely a key point because right now the game has a lot of fans, has a lot of players, but of course the constant issues that have not been fixed since launch with the balance have caused many players to be, demotivated from playing. So whatever we can do to help promote, a healthier player base and a healthier game overall, I think is going to be really important.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that when we talk about balance, the number one issue that a lot of people are talking about right now is the shields versus armor discussion. So why don't we just jump right into it? Because I know that's probably, for both of us, a big top-of-mind issue.
Yes, it's been one of my favorites. That's one that I've actually been, in the private content creator group with some of the devs. It's one of the ones that I've been hounding them on for months, and it's like, ever since I made my Ashimu and my Phantasm, it was like, okay, well, clearly one of these is never going to come out of the garage because it's useless compared to the other. So that's where it all started for me.
Yeah, I feel the same. I was armor tanking Prophecy for a while, and thought it was great. And then I saw a video, I think you might have put out or somebody else, about shield tanking being so far superior. So I tried it out, and I was like, why would I ever go back? This is so much better. All right, so I mean, when I'm looking at this, the two big issues that I have are, one, the shield resistances of the field module and the fact that it is for everybody that's in that bubble is so overpowered. And then the second is when you have the armor, it increases the mass of your ship so much that, if you are putting 2 or 3 plates on, like you could with a shield extender, it just makes you so slow, it's almost unusable. I don't know what you kind of think or kind of where your head's at this point.
Yeah, I agree on both of those points, and I'll even add to that. So the shield field module gives 56%, resistance if you get the large mirror, whatever one of the mirror quality. Mm-hmm. Once they release the next tier of items, on the test server, I've seen shield field modules with 64% resistances on them. So we're already looking at how overpowered everybody being enveloped by this 96% static resistances on a Nightmare or something like that. And it's like, what's going to happen when that bumps up to 97% when you add that extra 6 to 8% resistance by upgrading your module?
Right.
So we're talking about just an enormously unbalanced level of resistance, which is making it very difficult to do anything other than the single meta strategy of the bubble range strategy. And on the flip side, like you just said about the armor, when you put on armor plates or you try and spec out for armor, your resistances at a maxed out armor tank are going to be like in the in the low 80s tops. Because you don't have that shield field module. The armor link doesn't give resistance.
Right.
And then to your other point, an armor extender versus the shield extender gives you that, just makes you so much slower. It's enormously underpowered.
Yeah. Well, and so I guess my question is, how would you see the devs, potentially balancing this out a little bit? I know that there's a lot of talk about the resistances and all of that. Would you just be lowering those, or how would you kind of be taking a look at some of this?
Right. So that's a great question. And I've definitely thought about that a lot. So one of the things I play with is right now the armor link doesn't give any resistance, right? So you can immediately make armor much more viable by just adding 20. I mean, you want it to have less than the shield resistance field module. Great. I get it. The whole point of shields is the higher resistance, higher energy consumption, whatever, right? But the armor link should at least give 15 to 25% resistance, right? So if we're going to knock the shield field down, because once you get to 56, even at 95, 96% resistance right now, it's way overpowered. Yeah. Once you get to like 97% overall, resistance, once you upgrade the shield field modules, it's going to be crazy. So I think you need to drop it down. I think 56 on the mirror is too high. I feel like 56 should be closer to, the 40 range, something like that. And then you can give armor link, a little bit of resistance as well to kind of balance that out a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think, Scipio?
Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing you mentioned, the energy consumption, is something that needs to be adjusted. Right now I can run a shield field for days with 1,000 plasmoids, Oh, I mean, it's just it's stupid how inexpensive it is to run those things for how much protection you get out of them. So I'd love to see them bump up the fuel consumption for those modules, but then also on some of the boosters, I think that they do need to look at raising the amount of capacitor that it takes to use those. Because again, to your point, the whole idea is that it's this high energy, high resistance. And right now, I can put a single battery on my, on my MOA, and again, it can just self heal for days. So I don't know. I think that's the kind of the biggest thing for me, in addition to lowering the resistances, is to make that fuel consumption more expensive.
Yes, I agree 100%. Make it, add a level of skill in there that requires you to manage your capacitor if you're going to run shields. You're going to get the benefit of being faster. You're going to get better resistances, more EHP overall, but you're going to have to manage your capacitor. I think if you add some layers in like that have a skill associated layer into them, you're going to see adjustments happen to the metagame itself. Yeah. I definitely think that's I hadn't even thought about that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think, and the other thing too that I would be really curious about is in the armor right now, it's only... the armor links are only available in the squad. I think that, and you mentioned this before we started recording, making that for the fleet and then giving some sort of additional bonus there so that it's not just everybody is getting hit with everything at full strength, I think would be really crucial as well.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And, it wouldn't be overpowered in any way. Some people are like, whoa, that'd be crazy. Well, no, it wouldn't. Armor link doesn't redirect all the damage. It's not like a shield field module that absorbs everything, It only redirects 60% of the damage that the target's taking. So all you're doing is essentially increasing their armor lifespan, by 60%. And the 60% is against your resistances, so maybe at the end of the day, once you do all the math, it's closer to 80% increased armor health. That's nothing. Right. That's nothing, considering how advantageous it is to run a shield bubble, and they're immune to damage except for drones, And there's a lot of counters to drones too nowadays with, I know we're gonna get into that later, but it's like drones are becoming less and less effective at killing, especially as we graduate from scythes into battlecruiser lodges, Hurricane and Drake lodges. they have like 70k, 80k EHP. It's a lot to take out. You're not going to be able to knock that out without 50 plus drone ships all alphaing on that logic.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing too
that's
that you mentioned, you are still losing health with the armor link, and that is going to require players in fleets to actually pay attention to more than just their own targeting. That's going to require them to actively be healing themselves and managing their own capacitor. So I think it'll be really interesting if that is the case and that does go forward with becoming more of a viable strategy, how the rank and file, ships of the line type of players are able to adjust to, I'm just because I'm, under quote unquote the armor bubble doesn't mean that I just sit back and keep shooting, So I think it'll be really interesting either way with seeing that.
Exactly. So it's going to add another layer of skill to the combat that's missing right now. The other thing it's going to do, Scipio, is it's going to unlock the other 50% of the Eve Echoes ships that have been parked in the hangar for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
I made my Ashimu. It doesn't have a kill mark yet. I took it out. I did a little bit of pew-pewing just to play with it, and then I took out the Phantasm, and I was like, wow, I can have 4 times my EHP with 10% more damage than the Ashimu. All I'm missing is some E-War. I don't care. I'm gonna live forever. So, it's the armor. Bringing out armor logi, like you just said. Once we get to the point where armor link is actually useful, you'll see people start to manage their armor, start to ping for armor reps. You're going to need some armor logi in the fleet. We're going to really mix it up, add totally new things to the meta. It's going to change and evolve, and I think it's really needed for this game right now. I'm sick of sitting 100 km off the enemy in a blue bubble, and the only kills we get are when someone DCs. The only kills the enemy get is when one of our tanks like DCs and drifts his way, or he logs back in and warps to the middle of their fleet because he wasn't in a hick bubble.
Yeah,
it's
I'm with you, man.
We've got to change it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I know we could both talk about this for probably another hour. So I do want to transition a little bit because you said something really interesting about your Ashimu being parked in the hangar. And that was actually my next thing on the balance was that I think that the Blood Raider ships are actually a little overpowered right now. With the just stupid range of their webs and then the ability for them to, especially with the large NOS, just drain the opponent's capacitor so fast. I would actually love to see a bit of a nerf on those. I think that the damage, or I'm sorry, the bonus to webs, instead of being 20%, they could knock that down to 15 or 17% or something like that, and it'd still be a very viable ship. But you're no longer quite as powerful. Because right now I've been 1v1ing some other people with the Ashimus and stuff like that, and it's tough. I mean, there's very little you can do when your enemy is draining your cap at 30 kilometers.
It's tough. The range is definitely a big deal for the Ashimu. That's one of the things I like about it. I agree with you 100%. The web range, with the current armor, how it is, if you're running shield tank, I bet you all those Ashimus you fought were running shield tanks.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so if they're running armor tank, then they really do need that extra web range to get you and lock you down because the armor makes you so much slower. But with the shield, it's OP. You're just so much better with the shield version because you're so much faster. And I agree. Maybe if they make armor better, it'll dissuade people from running. The shield build, and they may be running a little slower, and then you'll have other ways to counter them. But yeah, I hit my mic there. I also support dropping the range on those a little bit. The Ashimu does give a massive range bonus to the web and the energy neutralizers and NOSes, so it is a big deal.
Yeah, and I think the other interesting thing is even like the crew war. It's, in my opinion, I think it's right behind, if not at least as good as the Daredevil in terms of being a control and tackle faction frigate. Just because, again, you can web something from 30 kilometers, and then it's at that point you're already in Predator web range, so or Predator disruptor range. So it's such a powerful ship. I just think that the devs need to look at, maybe bringing that down just a little bit, not completely invalidating it by any means, because that's a really fun way to play with the capacitor warfare, but just needs a little tweak, I think.
Some balancing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
No, I agree. I actually haven't flown the Kruger in a while, but it is definitely a fun ship. I'd be interested to see if you can fit a medium NOS on that. I bet you could.
I bet you could. The power grid's it's high enough that with some skills, and you may have to throw an extra rig on there, but it would totally be worth it, again, especially if you're taking on smaller ships and frigates.
Oh, yeah. You'll be draining a frigate within 30 seconds. It'll be, if it's not dead, it'll be drained and then dead.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
Well, you had mentioned, speaking of frigates and all of that, the bombers, one of the big things with Tech 9, especially as we get the version 2 of the stealth bombers, but you're not terribly happy with it.
No, as someone who flies bombers I have multiple characters, alts, that fly bombers. I enjoy bombers, the T6 ones. Even the T6 ones have issues with their explosion radius, with the medium, level torpedoes. Now you have these large torpedoes, which require such a big skill sink to get, maxed out. Even running double radius reduction rigs, you really don't deal a whole lot of damage to anything other than, structures. Structures are really where they excel right now in some battleships. I can't even deal full damage to a Ferox Guardian unless he's got a shield field module up. And I'd even have to check the radius on the shield field module to see if you do full damage to a small shield field module. So that's my challenge, is the radius is so astronomical in bomber mode, 550, 650 radius, depending on whatever your weapon skills are. That's a lot. That's a lot.
So do you think that they would need
I
don't really fly bombers, to be honest. About the only time I really do is when we go on Covops roams and we need something to lock down a target. But I guess the thing that I'd be curious about is, from your perspective, what's kind of the solution there? Because you mentioned, the explosion radius rigs and all of that. Do you think that's the way they should go, with maybe a ship bonus or something like that? Or do you think it's more of a, explosion velocity, or what's the best way you think to handle that?
Right. So right now, bomber mode gives you plus 100% explosion radius, which it's a negative, right? The larger your radius, the harder it is to deal full damage. So that, combined with the overall slow explosion radius on the larges, explosion velocity bonus from the large weapons is extremely poor. You're looking at taking maybe 5 or 6 seconds to deal your full damage across the 600 meter radius on your large torps. So I think bomber mode needs to be adjusted for the Type 2s. For the Type 1 bombers, they have their issues, but they're workable, right? The Type 2s are no longer for killing enemy ships. You could fight a frigate in that and hit the frigate for 50 damage a pop. You're not gonna deal full damage to anything that isn't a battleship, and even some battleships will be too small to deal full damage. So,
and at 50 a second on a frig, you're gonna end up with a dead bomber real quick.
Yeah, an interceptor can probably take out 10 bombers without even losing a shield. It's crazy. Which, I'm not saying frigates aren't a counter. They're basically the bomber's natural counter. How are you going to go get a Covey that's sitting 60 km out or 80 km out? You got to get there and lock them down, right? I get it. So I do like the fact that the interceptors and other small, frigates are hard counters to the bombers. I think that's good. It's probably as intended.
But a battle cruiser probably shouldn't be.
I think the large bombers...
I said, but a battle cruiser probably shouldn't be a hard counter as well.
Right, exactly. A battle cruiser should not be a counter to a bomber. Should you be able to maybe kill a battle cruiser by yourself with one bomber? I don't know. But should you be able to kill him with a couple bombers? I would think so. So the issue is they've got to reduce the bomber mode explosion radius bonus. It's got to be, instead of 100% bonus, these larges are already massive, right? Let's make it 50% bonus. Let's put this optimal, radius at 400 to 450, range. This 600 plus range it's excessive. It's not needed, and it's making people who switched to the Bomber 2 extremely upset that they've switched, making them either switch out. I know 2 people who quit the game because they spent a bunch of plex to reskill into large weapons. Now they're running around with a bomber. They can't hit anything. They actually quit. So we don't want that. That's not what we want. And that's not going to make this community, more healthy and make bombers, the star they should be.
I agree. I'd love to see a bunch of big bomber fleets go in and just wreak havoc. But yeah, to your point, it's just unless you're taking down a battleship that's already pointed and webbed, it's tough. So I feel you there for sure. But,
right. And they can't even do full damage against mining ships. The Procurer, its sig radius is too small, to take full damage from
is it really?
A Type 2 bomber. So
wow.
Yeah, exactly, it is. So because of that, it's like let's have them work for what they're intended to do, which is to go out and hunt miners or whatever, go out and hunt these decent sized ships and be able to actually kill them.
That's insane. I didn't realize that they couldn't even hit a Procurer.
Yeah. Yeah, hitting a Retriever. I think the Retriever's got like sub 100 km sig radius, meter radius. You're going to be doing like 15% or 20% of your damage to those.
That's nuts.
I literally tried to kill a Retriever, and it was like laughing at me.
That's insane. That's so
it was laughing
insane.
At me. It got away. It was no.
So that's it for part 1. Like I said in the intro, we are going to have part 2 on Randy's channel. I'll put a link up to the video here, and then also as an end card so you can go over and take a look at that. And if you enjoyed this, please be sure to leave us a like on one or both videos. It obviously does help people find the channel. And then make sure that you're subscribed, especially to Randy, because he's got a lot of really cool stuff coming out. So make sure that you're subscribed over there if you're not already. You won't regret it. And until next time, thanks so much. Fly safe.